Om Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Veeryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishai. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay, Tanmay, could you from verse number 64 till the very end, please?
Om Acharya. Drishyate shruyate yat yat brahmano tad bhave.
Drishyate shruyate yat
brahmano tad bhave. Tatvajnana cha tad brahma Satchidanandamadvayam. Sarvagam Satchidatmanam Jnanachakshurnirikshate.
Sarvagam Satchidananam Jnanachakshurnirikshate.
Ajnanachakshurneksheta Bhasvantam Bhanumandhavat.
Ajnanachakshurnirikshata Bhasvantam Bhanumandhavat.
Shravanadibhiruddipta Jnanagni paritapitaha.
Shravanadibhiruddipta Jnanagni paritapitaha.
Jiva sarvamalan muktaha Swarnavadyotate swayam.
Jiva
Sarvamalan muktaha Swarnavadyotate swayam.
Hridakashodito hyatma bodhabhanustamopahrita.
Hridakashodito hyatma bodhabhanustamopahrita.
Sarvavyapi sarvadhari Bhati bhasayate khilam.
Sarvavyapi Bhati bhasayate khilam.
Digdesha kaladiyanapeksha sarvagam.
Digdesha kaladiyanapeksha sarvagam.
Shitadirennitya sukhan niranjanam.
Shitadirennitya sukham niranjanam.
Yasvatmatirtham bhajate vinishkriyaha.
Yasvatmatirtham bhajate vinishkriyaha.
Sa sarvavid sarvagato mrito bhave.
Sarvagato Om Tat Sat. Thank you, Tanmay. So, thank you for a very beautiful chanting all over these days. All right. So, we look at verse number 64. So, he says, Drishyate, Shruyate, Yat Yad. Yat means whatever. Jobi bolte na vasa. Jobi ho. Whatever is seen, whatever is heard. Yad Drishyate, whatever is seen. Yad Shruyate, whatever is heard, and this is the catchphrase, this is the actual summarization of all Vedanta. Whatever is seen, whatever is heard, Brahmanaha anyatna tad bhavet. Nothing can be different from Brahman. And Tattva Jnanat cha tad Brahma, by Tattva Jnanam only, by knowledge of, by the study of Shastram only, which is the knowledge of Tattva Jnanam, Tad Brahma is understood. That Brahman is understood only by a study of the Brahman, by understanding the reality. What is that reality? Satchidanandam Advayam. Sat Chit Anandam, and Advayam is non-dual. So when one understands this Brahman as non-dual, then only one understands that Yadyat Shruyate Yadyat Drishyate Brahmanaha Anyat na tad bhavet. Nothing which one sees, nothing which one hears, and you can add the rest of it. Nothing which one touches, nothing which one smells, all those 5 Jnanendriyas you can add. Nothing can be different from Brahman, which means Sarvam Brahman. So in the last verse, the 63rd verse, which we did, I think, 2 weeks ago, Shankara had said, Brahma Anyat Bhati Chet Mithya. Do you remember? Whatever is different from Brahman, that is Mithya only. And he's explaining the word Mithya in this verse, because he doesn't want us to, because of that word, Brahma Anyat Bhati Chet Mithya, he doesn't want us to have the understanding that Brahman and Mithya are 2 different things. And therefore he's explaining. So he's saying, Drishyate Shruyate Yat Yat. Whatever is experienced, whatever is heard. So in general, whatever is experienced by any of the Jnanendriyas, Brahmanaha Anyat na tad bhavet. That has to be Brahman alone. It cannot be different. Why? Because they are Mithya. And what is the definition of Mithya? The Sat, the existence part of the Mithya Vastu, is borrowed from Brahman only. And the example we often use is like the pot borrows the existence from the clay. Clay alone has existence. Pot is only Nama Rupa. And that is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na abhavo vidyate sataha. Na abhavo vidyate sataha. That which has got existence as the intrinsic quality. Sataha. That is got, what is Sataha? Sat itself means existence. And therefore we have to get over the normal translation of Sata as truth. It's not truth. Sataha is Satta, existence. So that which has got existence as an intrinsic quality, as its own nature, na abhavo vidyate, will never lose an existence. Thus whatever comes and goes can never be Satyam. Only what is there in all the 3 frames of time, that will be Satyam. And where did you see that definition? The Satyam is that which is there in all 3 frames of time.
Tattva Bodha.
Tattva Bodha. So everywhere, every Prakarana Grantha you read, most of the verses of the Bhagavad Gita you read, every Upanishad that you read, you will find that the concepts which we had in Tattva Bodha will never lose relevance. And unless you understand each word with reference to the concepts of Tattva Bodha, we will find that our understanding is not complete. That's why Tattva Bodha is so beautiful little text, small little text, but very beautiful. And of course, as we will now be doing, we will be doing lots of Prakarana Granth starting from this Friday onwards. In every Prakarana Granth, you will find that the basic concepts are all rooted in Tattva Bodha. So, na abhava vidyate sataha. That which has existence as the intrinsic quality will never lose existence. And Tattva Jnana Tatat Brahma. By Tattva Jnanam alone, one sees this Brahman. Right? And therefore there is a saying, Yatra Ajnanam Tatra Jagadrishtihi. Do you understand? What does that mean? Yatra Ajnanam Tatra Jagadrishtihi. Yatra Jnanam Tatra Brahma Drishtihi. Can you translate that? Anybody? Yatra Ajnanam. What is that?
When you are
Wherever
ignorant,
there is
whenever you are
Wherever there is
ignorant,
Wherever there is Ajnanam,
you
there
see Jagat.
you see the Jagat. And Yatra Jnanam, wherever there is Jnanam, Tatra Brahma Drishti. You don't see Jagat at all, you see Brahman only. And what sort of Brahman is this? Satchidanandam Advayam. Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness. And Ananda is actually, we explained earlier, it's infinite. Ananta Ananda. So it is Anantaha. That Brahman you see. And because it is infinite, there cannot be a second one. So every word is important. Satchit Anandam, existence and consciousness. And you have to add Anantam. The Anandam is Anantam. Anantam is infinite. And wherever there is an infinite being, how many such beings can there be?
Only one.
Why so? Why so?
Because if there's another one, then that will not remain infinite.
Exactly. Because the existence of anything else, any other entity, will take away the characteristics of being Ananta. And therefore only Advayam, non-dual. No second one is there. Satchidanandam Advayam is to be read in that context. Then look at verse number 65. Sarvagam Sat. So that Sarvagam Sat, you have to add Sarvagam Sat Chit Atmanam. Or Sarvagam Sat Chit Atmanam. Sat Chit Ananda Atma is everywhere. Sarvagam. But what is the speciality? Nirikshate Jnana Chakshuhu can be perceived only with the Jnana Chakshuhu. And Ajnana Chakshuhu na ikshetaha. The one whose vision is covered by ignorance cannot see it. Ajnana Chakshu, that you break that up carefully in the second line. Ajnana Chakshu na iksheta. Iksheta means to see. So one whose vision is covered by ignorance cannot see it. And he gives an example how Bhasvantam Bhanum Andhavat. Just as the blind man Andhavat cannot see the shining sun. So the universe is only one. But there are two ways of perceiving it. Either with either the eyes which are backed up by a jnani mind, or with the eyes which are backed up with the ajnani mind. And this is what he says here. Jnana chakshuhu nirikshate sarvagam sat chidatmanam. Jnana chakshu nirikshate. The one who has the eyes of wisdom, who has the divine eye, he sees what? Sarvagam sat chidatmanam. He sees that sat chit atmanam everywhere. And the other way of looking is ajnana chakshuhu na ikshate. You have to supply. Na ikshate sat chidatmanam. Cannot see the sat chidatmanam anywhere, even though his eyes are wide open. But the third eye of knowledge, the divine chakshu, is missing. And he gives the example, Bhasvantam Bhanum Andhavat. Just as the blind man cannot see the shining sun, not because the sun is not shining, but because he lacks the capacity to see. Similarly, the Ajnana Chakshu cannot see Brahman, not because Brahman is absent, but because he doesn't have the capacity to see Brahman. The intellectual capacity he doesn't have. Then verse number 66. So these are very simple phrases. I'm not going into too much explanation because these are winding up phrases, and if you have to understand these, we have to recall everything that we have studied in verse number 1 to 60 up to 63 verses. All that is now being wound up over here. So verse number 66, he says Shravanadibihi. Shravanadibihi means Shravanam etc. What does etc. mean over here?
Mananam and Nididhyasanam.
Shravanadibihi Mananam Nididhyasanam. Uddiptaha. It lights up. What does it light up? Jnanagnihi paritapitaha. It lights up the flaming fire of Jnanagnihi. Of the fire of knowledge, it lights up. I would request those who are talking to please mute yourself because it is disturbing the recording also. Okay. So the Shravanam, Mananam, etc. It's lights up the flaming fire of Jnana. Udiptaha paritapitaha Jnanagni. And because of that fire of Jnanam being lit up in your mind, what happens? Jivaha sarva malan muktaha. Sarva malan muktaha. The jiva is purified of all impurities. And therefore, Dhyotate Swayam shines on his own like what? Swarnavat. like gold. So the Jnana Phalam is being talked about over here. What is the Phalam? Jivan Mukti. What is the advantage of being a Jivan Mukta? Dhyotate Swayam. He shines like Swarnavata, like gold. So every Jiva basically he is saying is Ananda Swarupam only. The Jnana Phalam is what? Ananda Swarupam. The Ananda, the permanent happiness, bliss as it is called in the Ananta Ananda, that is being talked about. And he says here, he shines Swarnavata like gold. The implication being that he doesn't need an external light to make him shine. He doesn't need any external object to make him happy. That happiness is welling out of his own nature. So he is Ananda Swarupa. But so far, the Swarupam was veiled, covered by Ajnanam, by lack of knowledge. What is that? Ragadvesha, Punya Papam, Sukham Dukham, Maranam Jananam, all those things. Ragadvesha is what? Attachment and dislikes coming out of Punya and Papam. And therefore he experiences bliss, Sukham, and unhappiness, Dukham. And because of that, he goes through the cycle of birth and death, Maranam and Jananam. To get to the original Swarupa, you have to remove all these layers one by one. These are all impurity layers. So you know the layers, right? Mala, Vikshepa, and Ajnanam. There are three basic layers. Mala, impurities. Vikshepa is the wandering tendency in the mind. And Ajnanam. What are the various disciplines required? What is sadhana required for to remove Mala?
Karma Yoga.
Sadhana required to remove Upasana, to remove Vikshepa,
Upasana.
and to remove Ajnanam.
Jnana Yoga.
Jnanam.
So a good question to ask here is, what does Shravanam do, what does Mananam do, and what does Nididhyasanam do? Karma Yoga removes Mala, yes. Upasana removes Vikshepa. What do these three different aspects of Jnana Yoga do?
Listening, clearing doubts and assimilation of the knowledge.
One by one. What does Shravanam do?
Listening.
Knowledge.
Shravanam gives you Jnanam. So it removes Ajnanam. Okay. That Ajnanam, that Ajnanam having been removed, what is the role of Mananam?
Doubt-free knowledge.
Sanshaya.
Samshaya-rahitam.
So Shravanam removes Ajnanam, but the Jnanam which remains is Samshaya Sahita Jnanam. Mananam removes the Samshayam also. What remains after Mananam is Samshaya Rahita Jnanam. And what does Nididhyasanam do?
Clearance of habitual thoughts.
What is it called?
Assimilation of Viparyaya.
Viparita Bhavana. Okay, Viparita Bhavana, all your samskaras, everything comes there. Those habitual thinking patterns, they are removed by Nididhyasana. And once having done all that, what happens? He says, Shravanadhibir Diru Diptaha Jnanagni Paritapitaha. The fire of knowledge will have done its job. And therefore only, because your Mala has been removed, because your Vikshepa has been removed, because your doubts have been removed, and because habitual thinking patterns have been removed, Jivaha Sarva Malan Muktaha. That Jiva is free of all sorts of impurities. All these three impurities, the Jiva is free of. And therefore, Dhyotyate Swayam. He will shine like gold. The true nature will show through. Like the example the Shastra uses that the sun doesn't shine when the clouds are there. But that is not because the sun is not shining. It is because the clouds are there. When the wind blows the clouds away, you don't need anything else. The sun shines by itself. Okay. Then we look at the 67th verse. So he says, the breakup has to be carefully understood. Hrid Akashaha Uditaha Hi Atma. The Atma rises in the Hrid Akashaha. What is Hrid Akashaha? Very commonly used term. Hrid. What is Hrid?
In the space of the heart.
Yes. So Hrid Akashaha means space of the heart. Okay. So Hrid Akashe Uditahi Atma. The Atma rises in the Hrid Akashaha. How does it rise? Tamaha apaharataha bodha bhanu. Can you make out what it means? Tamaha apaharataha. What does it mean?
Removing the darkness.
Removing tamas. How? Bodha bhanu. What does it mean?
Bodha is teaching.
Bodha is light,
The
knowledge.
realization of
Bhanu is light. So tamaha aparataha bodha bhanu. By destroying the tamas of ignorance, how? By the light of knowledge. By bhanu bodha, light of knowledge. And therefore, once the Atma rises up, now again the rising is figurative. It's not really rising, it is there all the time, but you have not been able to recognize because of the tamaha. Now that tamaha has been destroyed by bodha bhanu, what happens? This Atma, sarvavyapi, sarvadhari, all pervading, all supporting. It is supporter of everything, including the whole universe, and it is all pervading. Bhati, it shines by itself. Not only does it do bhati, not only does it shine by itself, bhasyate akhilam. It makes everything else also shine. And therefore he says, hridakashe udito hi atma. So it's like in the night, in the night, has the sun gone away? No, it is still there. But you do not see the sun because your vision is obstructed because of the earth itself, because the earth has revolved. So you're on the opposite side of the sun, and therefore the earth is in between the sun and you. You cannot see. And when we say sun is rising, it is not because anything new has happened. It is just that the earth has rotated again. The sun has always been there, but your vision has become unobstructed. Earlier your vision was obstructed, now your vision is unobstructed. When the vision was obstructed, you could not see the sun. When your vision became unobstructed, we are able to see the sun again. Similarly, in the Hridakashaha, Atma was there, but obstructed by Ajnanam. When the Ajnanam goes, so Uditaha, rising, has to be figuratively understood, as if rises. There is no real rising. And why? Because knowledge has destroyed the tamas of Ajnana. Right? Remember that tamas is not destroyed by Atma. Why? Why can you not say that tamas is destroyed by Atma?
It is
Atma is akarta.
akarta.
Atma is akarta, and if not only that, everybody has Atma. And if Atma can destroy tamas, then nobody should have tamas. Everybody should be born jnani. But it is not that. It is the jnanam. It's called the akhanda akara vritti. That undivided thought. Aham brahmasmi is the akhanda akara vritti. That destroys Atma. And what kind of Atma is it? Sarvavyapi, sarvadhari. All pervading, all supporting. It shines by itself, bhati, and bhasyate akhilam. It makes everything else also shine. Very beautiful ending for this. Let me look at the last verse. Dig, desha. To break it up carefully. Dig, desha, kaladi, anapeksha. Apeksha is dependent. Anapeksha is not dependent. Not dependent on desha, place, kala, time. Dig. What is dig?
Direction.
Dig is direction. Dig, desha, kala, the anapekishya, not dependent on the direction, the place, or the time. Sarvagam, all pervading. Sita, the hrit, destroyer of cold, etc. Nitya sukham, ever happy. Niranjanam, which can never be stained, stainless. Yaha vinishkriyaha, that person who vinishkriyaha, having renounced all karma, what does he do? Bhajate swatma tirtham. He worships this holy shrine, tirtham. He worships this holy shrine, which is what? Swatma. Bhajate tirtham. He goes on this tirtha yatra. But the shrine is what? Swatmaha. His own Atman is the sign, is the shrine. And because of that, Saha, that person who does this worship, Sarvavit Sarvagataha, becomes all knowledge, all knowledgeable, Sarvavit Sarvagataha, becomes all pervading, Amrito Bhavet, he becomes immortal. Right? So Swatma Tirtham, Atma is being compared to a tirtham, the place where you go to worship. Right? So what is tirtham? Sarvan punati iti tirtham. That which sanctifies you. That is tirtham. And that is why all places of pilgrimage are called tirtham, because they sanctify you. And from that we have the word tirthayatra, going to a place of pilgrimage to be purified. And Shankaracharya is saying that you don't need to go anywhere, because Atma is the highest tirtham. Why? Other tirthams can remove papam, but this Atma, the jnanam of the Atma, can remove ajnanam, and therefore there is no need to go for any more dips in the Ganga. This will be the last. And what type of Atma is it? That is the description. Dik, Desha, Kaladi, Anepeksha, not dependent on direction, place and time. Sarvagam, all pervading. Sitadi Hritaha, so destroyer of cold, etc. So here Sitadi can be taken as Shita Ushnaha. So Dvandaha, opposites, destroyer of opposites. And Nitya Sukham Niranjanam, ever happy, stainless. And who is eligible for this dip? Yaha Vinishkriyaha, the one who has given up karma. Literally meaning sannyasi, one who has got internal detachment. Vairagi we call it, sadhana chatushyam sampanna we call it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wear the yellow robes or the or orange robes. It just means that the detachment which is expected of a sannyasi should be cultivated. And that happens how? Through sadhana chatushta sampanna. Grihastha can be just as much a vairagi as a sannyasi. And because of that, that person, sarvavit sarvagataha, he becomes all knowledgeable, all pervading. Which is another way of saying the all knowledgeable or pervading is only Brahman. And Brahman is immortal. Therefore, Amrito Bhavet. This person, he becomes immortal also. With this, we close the Atma Bodha. I hope you've enjoyed the text. It's a very beautiful text. So any questions we are open to.
Acharya, could you give the definition of tirtha once again, please?
Tirtham.
Yes.
So actually it says that Tirthayati Sarvan, sanctifies. And Tirthayati can be taken as Punati. Punati also means purify. So Tirthayati Punati Sarvan, that which sanctifies and purifies everybody, iti Tirtham. That is called a Tirtham.
Thank you, Acharya.
All right. Any questions?
Acharya, this karma yoga for mala and upasana for vikshepa, can you repeat that for agnanam? Is it shravanam, mananam, nidhyasana?
Yeah. Karma Yoga, there are three basic impurities. One is Mala, one is Vikshepa, and one is Ajnanam. Ajnanam has two avatars. One is Samshaya Sahita Ajnanam, Samshaya Sahita Jnanam, and then there is Samshaya Rahita Jnanam. When you destroy Ajnanam, there are two types of Jnanam. One is with doubts, one is without doubts. So each of these, so what do you call your disciplines, they're addressing each one of these. Your Karma Yoga will address Mala. Then your meditation or Upasana Yoga will address Vikshepa. Shravanam will address Ajnanam, but you will be left with Jnanam with doubts. So Samshaya Sahita Jnanam you will have. Then you do Mananam, and that will address the doubts. After Mananam you have Samshaya Rahita Jnanam. But you will still have Viparita Bhavana, habitual thinking patterns. The best way to understand that is, even when you know something properly, you still act in a contradictory manner because of a habitual thinking pattern. And I use the example of, if you have sold your car, the next morning you still head for the drawer in which your car keys are kept. Only when you open the drawer and touch the car keys would you and find that there are no keys over there, that you remember that yes, I have sold my car. It's not that you didn't know that the car was sold, but it is that habitual thinking pattern of me getting up in the morning and going for my car. That was always there. It takes some time for that also to go. So that is Nididhyasana. So different sadhanas for different aspects.
Thank you, Acharya.
Acharya ji,
Yeah.
in a temple, we are offered tirtham. Does that also come from the
Yes,
same?
same word that is supposed to sanctify you or purify you, because it's not, it's a prasadam from the Lord.
Yes.
Tirtham is that liquid which you drink, right?
Right.
That is a prasadam from the Lord, so supposed to purify you.
Okay. Thank you.
Acharya,
Yes, Vandana.
if Nididhyasanam removes all habitual thinking patterns, would it mean that if a jnani would never be disturbed in any way, like they wouldn't have any minor annoyances or
Exactly, because see, what is being said is that even though you know that you're Brahman without any doubts, even then there are habitual ways in which you react to people. That is embedded in the subconscious. And since our reactions are out of subconscious, Nididhyasanam is to address that subconscious problem. So one by one you have to take that and then work on it, which means a lot of analysis of your own self is to be done. How do I react? What are my key triggers for getting annoyed? All those things.
right. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to know what you guys thought of the Prakaranam class. It was the first Prakaranam we did, apart from Atma Bodha, of course. Because we are starting another Prakarana Grantha class, which of course, this is the last one on Saturdays. In future, it will be on Friday evenings. So what is the benefit, if any, which you are gaining? Are you?
It's very fast.
Ravi ji.
Yes, please go on, June.
So about the benefits, I have feel that the things that we are learning in Atma Bodha and Bhagavad Gita are being like more assimilated. And even though, because it's an advanced Prakana Grantham, when I like check the recordings and stop the recording, take my notes like slowly at my pace, then I feel that even though like many of the things we study here are already being said in Bhagavad Gita and Atma Bodha, like everything's get connected, because you also mentioned examples from Bhagavad Gita, take parts from Atma Bodha, and like we mix everything here, so everything gets like more assimilated, and even though it's the same knowledge over and over, it's like the repetition of the repetition makes the knowledge to sink in. So
yeah, so you'll find that Atma Bodha, of course, was an advanced text.
Yeah.
So that issue is there, but we'll try to do like Bhajagovindam is not so advanced. It's a basic text, so you'll find more explanations of common ideas which have been explained in Atma Bodha also. Let's hear what Meda has to say. Meda, anything? Any inputs here?
Can you hear me, Ravi?
Yes.
I'm actually traveling right now.
Okay, so you can still tell us what you think.
It was good. Yeah, like you said, it's an advanced text, and some of the ideas just sink deeper, like what June said. So that is there, and the examples are very nice in Atma Bodha. Very simple but very effective. So that's very nice.
Okay, so we'll this is the last class, of course. Next Sunday, next Saturday onwards, we are shifting back to Upanishads at this time. But Prakarana Grantha will continue at Fridays. Hopefully, I'll be able to take this Friday, coming Friday. Hopefully. Otherwise, one more week, I will have to ask you to wait. And Vasanta, please tell me, you'll raise your hand.
Yes, Acharya ji, is Bhajagovindam is also a Prakarana Grantham?
Is considered one.
Okay. So you said it will be easier than this
it's a very basic text.
Atma Bodha, no?
Yeah, it's a very
basic text. Yeah.
But remember that conceptually, whatever concepts are there have all been already talked about in Atma Bodha. Few new concepts will ever be introduced. Apart from that, there will be some refinements in Viveka Chudamani, in Naishkarmya Siddhi. All these texts have some refinements.
Okay.
Concepts have all been covered. I'm sure Meda has done a good job.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we enjoy every lesson of her. And thanks to you also, your classes also. Bhagavad Gita is so interesting, Raviji. Sunday, we are looking forward to it. Atma Bodha is little bit difficult, but Bhagavad Gita is very, very enjoyable.
So actually, normally Atma Bodha is taken after Bhagavad Gita, but okay, there are people in various levels, so I thought I would come by. Yes, Indira ji.
Yeah.
Acharya. So, as you asked, like, what are the benefits we are getting with these classes? Just wanted to share. Like, I've started from the first lockdown with you, this study. So, it is definitely helping me handle my personal issues or whatever it is to a great extent. I keep telling myself the law of karma, you take it or else, this is not my body. So, all these just the mind's way of doing. It's big time helping, and I'm really happy that being a yoga instructor, so I'm able to share these observations with my students. So I ask them to be aware of this, like, with the 1 hour asana practice, whatever they do, they come and then go. Some say that they still undergo anxiety and stress, a lot of things. But I've understood being humans, and I think our problems can be recovered only with this knowledge, jnanam. So I've realized, so I'm really happy actually through me, this knowledge has been passed to some students. My yoga classes have been changed to great extent.
Yes, if you add spirituality to yoga, it becomes a different ballgame altogether. It takes it to a different level. Yes, I agree with you.
Yes. So I can see the difference in my classes, which I'm so happy. And students also. Earlier, I used to just ask them to join and then do a prayer and then, okay, bye. Then I sit with them nowadays, like, did you observe when you're not doing yoga, of course, throughout the day, what are your observations? These are mind. I'm Sadhana Chatushtayam. I'm slowly introducing them to, how they can do these Shamadama and all. So really thanks for all this, whatever knowledge. They all get surprised when I tell I'm learning this, and this knowledge is all free of cost. Like, I've referred some of my students, they are all like shocked. So like, oh, is that so? Like, really thank you for all the efforts what you're putting, taking so much time for us.
Okay, Preeti ji.
Pranam, Ravi.
Pranam.
My question is about this. You said null is worked out or removed through karma yoga and vikshep through upasana.
Yeah.
Now, my question comes on Saranam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. While Saranam and Mananam seem sort of clear to me, Nididhyasana, in a sense, just remains a word.
Yeah, so just hang on because you are still new. Nididhyasana takes a bit of time to understand. So we'll be going over it, especially in the Gita when you reach the 6th chapter. We'll be doing extensive discussion on that. So then you'll be able to clearly understand.
The steps will come in the 6th chapter, Ravi, but how would you say define Nididhyasana today at our level of understanding?
It's just the, getting rid of whatever are the disturbances in your mind which obstruct the assimilation of the knowledge. So even subconscious disturbance will make sure that you do not assimilate. Assimilate means that knowledge has to go into your subconscious. At the conscious level, the knowledge does not help. It is only knowledge. It is not transformed you. It's only information, not transformation.
So it is the next step after taming the monkey mind. It
is the last step in your journey. After samshaya rahita jnanam. That is the last step. Nididhyasana is the last step. So don't be in a hurry. Take your time.
Sir, the lime pickle example you give always is so helpful to
Yeah, the lime pickle example is the best way. You have to keep the lime in the sauce for quite some time before it becomes tasty. That's the example we use. You have to sit in the knowledge, sort of dip yourself in the knowledge and remain there. Constantly telling yourself that, yes, this is what I am and not what my reactions prove me to be.
Acharya, there's a shloka in the Atma Bodha itself, which says Brahmaiva Smiti Vasana. So that is the Nididhyasan.
Exactly. I am Brahman. That has to be converted into Vasana. You see, Vasana is the habitual thinking pattern. Very beautifully pointed out by Tanmay. That particular line is the essence of Nididhyasam. You have to, and that fact that I am Brahman is not to remain at the conscious level. It has become a subconscious idea of yours, ingrained into your psyche. So it becomes a Vasana. That's why he says Brahma is Iti Vasana.
Okay, sir. Thank you. It's just I'm seeking what are the possible ways which can work simultaneously along with Shravanam and Mananam. Is there a simultaneous process that one can?
You can do everything simultaneously. You need not do step by step.
Place today to make that Nididhyasanam.
No, Nididhyasanam you avoid. Everything else you can do simultaneously. Nididhyasanam, there's no point till you have the complete understanding of what exactly you are. Just saying I'm Brahman is of no use. What that Brahman is, you should understand.
Okay.
Okay. So we have
Acharya.
time for Vinita, Deepa, and Lata. Okay, 3 people more. After that, we'll stop.
Can I say, Acharya ji?
Yeah, Deepa, go on.
Hari Om. Only difference I can see in me is I feel every action there is a reaction. And I started thinking, is this reaction is good or bad? Or is it okay for me to react on everything? That is what I have learned from your class.
Okay, that's a good start, but I would ask you to, ask yourself a different question. Who is reacting? Not, is it okay to react? You ask, who is the person who reacts? So you'll find a better reply there.
Okay.
Okay, Vinita ji, last question of yours.
Om Acharya ji, verse 34 has been the most important verse for me personally to think about, to, let's say, Mananam for me. That has been really the takeaway verse for me at my level of learning today.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for all your teaching.
Thank you. Lata ji, yours is the last question for the day.
It's not a question, Ravi ji, but I would like to thank you for actually making me a part of this learning. In fact, a lot that I have learned as well. Even in my personal life, I'm seeing the changes that are happening within me. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome. But none of you really have to thank me, because it is said that the one who learns the most is the teacher. So I've learned a lot. Thank you so much. And we hope to be able to start Bhajagovindam on Friday. With that, we'll stop. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti. Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
so much,
patience.
Acharya.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you so much, Acharya.